The King of the North!
Dracarys.
I will hurt you for this.
I am the sword in the darkness.
Lion doesn't concern himself with the opinions of the sheep.
Let me give you some advice, bastard.
Chaos isn't a pit. Chaos is a ladder.
What is up, everybody? Jeremy Ice and Fire here, and welcome to the channel. And recently, we received some new information concerning the potential A Song of Ice and Fire spin-off series that could be coming to HBO in the near future. Season 2 of House of the Dragon is set to premiere at some point this summer, and the upcoming A Night of the Seven Kingdoms series, the Dunk and Egg live-action spin-off show, is set to start filming this spring as well. And now we are also receiving some new information concerning the Corlys Velaryon spin-off show that has been in pre-production. Thanks to George's latest Not a Blog post, we are now learning that the 9 Voyages spin-off prequel, the story of Corlys Velaryon's earlier years, is now moving from a live-action series to an animated series, which I do think could be a better idea in the long run, especially considering all of the exotic and distant locations that the Corlys Velaryon series will most likely be visiting. Creating some of these sets in live action would create an astronomical budget for the series, something that HBO is probably not willing to undergo at this time, especially considering all of the other A Song of Ice and Fire projects that they are currently funding. And speaking of some of the other projects, we have learned from George R.R. Martin that they originally had 4 animated A Song of Ice and Fire spin-off series in pre-production, 2 of which have since been shelved, leaving the other 2 still in pre-production. And now, with the Corlys Velaryon series switching from live action to animated, that makes 3 potential animated A Song of Ice and Fire series that we could see in the near future. Now, of course, none of which have been officially greenlit by HBO yet, but George is very confident that some of them will make it to screen. And I, for one, am really hoping that 9 Voyages is among the series that does get greenlit, especially with all of the interesting and more obscure locations that series will be traveling to. By the age of 37, Corlys was already considered the greatest seafarer in the Seven Kingdoms, and his 9 voyages are some of the most famous stories in the history of Westeros. Aboard his flagship vessel, the Sea Snake, Corlys would go on to visit many interesting locations in Essos and beyond. During his first voyage, he sailed beyond the Jade Gates at Karth to Yiti and Lang, and returned with many different treasures like silk, spices, and jade, effectively doubling the wealth of House Velaryon on a single voyage. During his second voyage, he would travel even further, becoming the first Westerosi in history to visit the mysterious lands of Ashai Beyond the Shadow, where he reportedly lost his love and half of his crew. During another voyage, he would also become the first Westerosi sailor to navigate the Thousand Islands in the Shivering Sea, and also going on to visit Nefer in Nagali and the dark shores of Mossavi, which is said to be the edge of the known world. Out of all of the locations during the 9 voyages, many of which we still don't know to this day, I for one am really looking forward to his voyage to Mossavi. Mossavi is said to be a cold and dark land of shape-changers and demon hunters. It is unknown what lies beyond, although some Septons claim that the world ends beyond the forest. Then, during his 9th and final voyage on the Sea Snake, Corlys filled the ship's hold with gold and brought 20 more ships to Karth, loading them with spices, elephants, and silk. Unfortunately, only 14 ships would end up reaching it back to Driftmark, and all of the elephants died, but Corlys still became vastly more wealthy from the venture, making him and House Velaryon the richest family in Westeros, richer than even the Lannisters and the Hightowers, and would go on to cement Corlys's reputation as the greatest captain in the history of Westeros. And I, for one, am really hoping that this story gets brought to life on screen, as it is one of the most fascinating tales in the history of A Song of Ice and Fire, and will give us a chance to visit some of the more darker, obscure, and downright scarier places on the A Song of Ice and Fire map, and is also a great opportunity to give House of the Dragon fans some much-needed backstory on House Velaryon and Corlys's younger years. And being that it has officially moved from live action to an animated series, it gives them much more room to really flesh out the world of Westeros and beyond. and it'll be very interesting to see what kind of animation style they end up going with if these make it to series. George R. R. Martin recently did go on at length at how much he really enjoyed and admired the new Blue-Eyed Samurai series that dropped on Netflix, so I wouldn't be too surprised if we see a Song of Ice and Fire series in a similar animation style, which could be really cool if done right. But that is going to do it for us today for the latest news coming out on the Game of Thrones spin-off series, and definitely leave your thoughts and comments down below. Would you rather see the Corlys Velaryon spin-off series in live action, or do you prefer the animated version? And as always, if you enjoyed this content, don't forget to hit a like on your way out, subscribe, and hit that bell for notifications to stay up to date on all of our upcoming content, as we will be covering all of the A Song of Ice and Fire spin-off series. And as always, I want to give a big thank you to everybody out there for watching, and we will see you on the next one.